told someone recently, which I didn't tell that many people yet in my life, is, you know, people will look differently at her when I tell the story. Mariah Carey was actually the one that I could, because of her, I became more of a technical singer. Because I never had lessons, but by listening to her, and she has a big register from low to very high, and by training with her songs, especially the first 3 albums, it really helped me, well, you know, to sing better. And I drove my parents crazy. I was like 15, 16, I don't know. And rewinding like the high notes and then higher and higher and higher. And, you know, the windows didn't crack. I'm still amazed about it. But I drove my parents crazy. Like, why are you doing this? I said, well, you know, I want to learn. And I said, well, why don't you go to a music school? Because I can only learn the flute and how to read notes. I don't want to read notes. I don't want to play a flute. I want to sing, Mom. I can remember that conversation.
No, it's a bit different, you know, because you can learn. You know, there's even metal schools around, you know, that you can learn how to sing.
Nowadays
like,
there are. Yeah.
Anything, you know, like from harsh vocals to anything. There's one here in we're located in Barcelona, and there's one here called the Metal Academy, and they teach you, you know, like anything, you know, from double bass techniques for death metal, and if you want to play, you know, progressive technical death metal from 1989, you know, you can learn that. So, you know, so it's very precise, and it's it goes to show you, you know, how metal has become a genre of its own in terms of, you know, learning the music.
Yeah, totally.
You need to learn properly how to sing some stuff, because then you see a lot of singers, and probably you've seen that through your career, that they just completely destroy their voice because they have no technique or anything.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And, you know, there's several ways to roam. And if you don't have any problems with your voice, if you don't, it doesn't hurt what you're doing, and you can, that's the only guideline that you have to look after, is like, when it hurts, you do something wrong. And you immediately feel it. When you're singing something that you can't do, then, you know, then there's something, the way you do it is not working for you. So I'm self-taught, but I can do several things in different ways nowadays, and it works for me. And like I said, Mariah Carey is for me like the Steve Vai among vocalists, you know. So everybody was playing a guitar and trying to play Steve Vai. I was singing Mariah Carey.
So does it take a lot out of you when you're on tour? Do you are you a big rehearser, a big you know, big into warming up before shows? Or you are naturally gifted in the sense that, you know, you just go out there and, you know, belt your vocals and do it great?
Of course, I have to warm up my voice. You know, it's a muscle. You need to warm it a little bit. I'm not like hours before that I don't speak to people or I'm training, not at all. I am like a half hour, 40 minutes max, because otherwise if I do too much, I might lose my voice in the end because it gets hoarse. And so, no, for me, it doesn't work to be that intensively busy with singing, but it's like a half hour, 40 minutes max.
I have some dogs around here.
Yeah, I can hear it. I only have a cat, so if you hear something mowing, then it's my cat.
Actually, I have a dog downstairs at the on the first floor. So my dog loves to just go out there in the balcony and bark at him. Just like, you know, fuck you, you know. They just hate each other completely. And I have the small one, which is this little one here.
Oh, but that's not little, that's huge.
Yeah, well, that's 13
way bigger
kilos.
than my cats.
Pedro Souza and Billy wants to know if you changed your singing style throughout the years, was for just because of personal preference?
Well, it was also like trying to fit on a song that needed something different sometimes. Like I sing now quite different, but every album I try new stuff, but I try to find a voice that fits with the atmosphere of the song and maybe also the storyline. I see myself as a storyteller more than anything else when I talk about lyrics and emotion. And so I try to find the right voice for the storyline that I'm trying to tell. And then sometimes it's more operatic and sometimes it's more realistic, kind of almost talkative kind of voice.
And which one do you think is the hardest one to sing? Like,
well, depends a little bit. Like when I have a cold, for instance, then a lot of times I can only do the operatic voice because it's in a different level, and you know, all the ice queens and all the Mother Earths are just coming out like crystal clear. But then I have to sing like maybe something which is more Like, what have you done? And my complete voice can be gone. So the register is disturbed halfway. And that's something that I find. So then it's like, then I realize, oh my God, I really have to put effort here to, try to make myself heard in a way. So, but neither for me are any more difficult than the other. It's just a different way of singing, and I just prefer songs. That's something that I do.
You encounter any problems because now you're suddenly doing tours and singing a lot live?
I've never had a lot of problems with my vocals. I've never had really much trouble so far, but getting older, it does get more difficult physically also, because it's more like you need a lot of energy to perform well. And so we have a little bit more days off than we used to. Normally we would be performing 5 days in a row and then have 1 day off and go again 5 days. Now it's like 3 or 4 days playing and then have 1 day off and then go again. So
did you get any advice from anyone on how to keep doing, how to be a singer on tour, because you tour so much? Did anyone give you like advice on your voice and how to save your voice and your physicality when it comes to tour?
No, I never had any advice on that, but I did get some advice about how to protect my ears though, because the first few times actually that we were on stage, our label mates from Orphanage, a girlfriend from one of the boys actually, said to me, "You have to wear earplugs, Sharon. You have to protect your ears because otherwise you'll be deaf when you're old and everything." And she was so right, because some of the boys didn't do that in the band because they really wanted to feel the music, which is a good thing as well, of course. And those earplugs that we had, because we weren't able to have the in-ears yet, it just also closed off a lot of the interaction, what you hear from the audience, of course. So, but for me, I was like, I'm going to take that advice because I could really focus on my own vocals, and because of that, because you can hear through your throat the vibrations, and I could hear way easier what I was doing while having these earplugs in. And the boys, not all of them did that, so they have some hearing problems already, like the
tinnitus.
Yes, tinnitus.
Tinnitus.
Something. You know what I mean?
High pitch.
yeah, exactly.
Ringing.
Yeah, exactly. The tone that keeps on going.
Do you have any warm-up routines when you go on the stage, or do you just go and sing?
No, I could go and just sing. But, halfway through, then you do feel like, okay, it is a muscle. You have to warm up. So it's not a good thing to do that. You can, but it's not good. And so I have the ginger tea, I have the honey tea, I have exercises that I do nowadays that really help me to protect my vocal cords, because you need to do that. Like I said, it's just another muscle in your body that you need to train. And you can stretch it a lot, but there's a limit to everything.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you have some tea and all these things that you do, and some people have like restrictions. They don't drink milk or cheese or eat cheese or anything like that. Do you have some specialties like that?
Yeah, I can't eat nuts because it will come back to you when you're singing. It comes up again, and then if it goes the wrong way in again, then you might end up coughing and then losing your voice also because of that. So, and sometimes also not milk, because of the fact if you have a cold and you drink milk, it will make it very difficult.
Have you had any moments when you're sick and you still have to perform every night?
Yeah, I had vocal cord problems actually after the whole COVID, and somehow I'm not sure if it was because of the fact that I hadn't sang for such a long time and end up I don't know, maybe exhausting my vocal cords with the first few something. I lost my voice and still were able to sing a little bit, but then we had to cut down the songs, the amount of songs. It was really horrible, but I was not the only one. There was a lot of people, singers actually, in the Netherlands at that time that had vocal problems, and one after the other, like, okay, this one is cancelled, that one was cancelled, and I was thinking I was doing all right until I went out on stage. At a certain point I go, this doesn't feel right, something's wrong. And I came off and I felt like, okay, I really need to have some medicine, because this is really going to be difficult for me to sing the next few days. And I had like 3 shows in a row.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you made it through, so.
I made it through, but with a lot of sweating and going like
For
this on
sure.
stage. Yeah.
Now, I know you're a self-taught musician. Do you want to tell us a bit more about your training, for lack of a better term?
I just taught myself, just listening to songs which I liked very much, and then trying to listen so good and carefully, and trying to sing along with it. And every time I went wrong with a certain note, and I could hear it very well, I was like, okay, this is going wrong, and I could try it for 20 times or maybe 50 times. I drove my parents crazy.
Tell us about some of the songs that you practice to.
Well, they're pretty different from what I do now.
You hear my voice is tired. This is what happens at the end of a tour. You start out bright and fresh and beautiful like you do, and then you end up like with this hag voice.
Yeah, especially with fall and winter coming.
Yeah.
So,
What's your tea of choice?
my tea of choice. Oh, well, a natural ginger, but also I like jasmine, and I like how do you say mint? Mint tea, of course.
I do too. So similar.
Yeah.
Ginger's vibe. You know, it's funny. Like work tea is different than enjoyment tea, because
I agree.
work tea is like throat coat.
Very verbal, very not verbal. Is it? Yeah, herbal, not verbal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, lost in translation.
No,
But
I knew exactly what you meant. But yeah, like enjoyment tea. You said jasmine. I never drink that because I'm always working anymore. But that's like my favorite not work tea.
For me too, but I drink it both. I don't also off stage or just before a show. I do drink it. So it's like,
Really?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But,
Right?
sorry. Yeah, but I needed a bit to get that.
Oh, got you. Got you. Sometimes that drives me out. Like I gotta have just like the straight, like not caffeine, ginger.
Yeah, but don't you use but ginger does the same thing for me as well. Sometimes I love ginger, and sometimes it just dries my vocal cords out. So then I need the honey.
That's why that. Yep, it's about the combo. The ginger, the cleanser, and the honey.
The cleanser of when you have a lot of things going on there, and it's all gone. Then it's then you need a little bit. Then you need the honey.
Totally.
Vocally for you, did this approach help you, having the ability to kind of concentrating on separate songs at separate time? Did that added a little bit more energy? Did that give you a different take on how to perform these songs?
Yes, most definitely. But also besides that I had time to think of what kind of thing would I like to try on the next song. You know, with Bleed Out, for instance, the song Bleed Out, I really wanted to have more of a almost, you know, clarinet or angelic or kind of Enya kind of way of approach of singing, which is totally not metal. But then the next moment when it was heavy, sing full force again, and then with a different voicing, and to play around with that was really nice to be able to do for once. And because there was so much time in between, I really had time to think about what I wanted to try. And I would love to explore that more, because this is one of my favorite songs actually, because there's more diversity and more like the big things and go to small, like the more, how do you call that? Diversity within the song. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to rank this record. I know all the fans are always like, oh, is this one better than that one? You know how fans are. There's always this competition for which one is the best record.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you vocally, where do you rank this album? Was it more challenging than previous records? Was it more difficult than the previous records? Do you like this performance more than previous records? Where do you put this album vocally?
I like this vocally more than ever because I've tried more different things, and I think it's very diverse vocally from my perspective. What I've done before, of course, I've done certain things that are coming back on this album as well, like this Kate Bush kind of sound that we had, like the dance, for instance, is coming back now a little bit with wireless, but in a different way again. And with Bleed Out, like I said, I tried things that inspired me, of bands that I used to listen to when I was growing up and I still love. And so trying new things that I think I can do also. It's fun to do new things, and I think it already started with Resist. And I think back in the days when we started, we did more diverse things like we are doing now again. Maybe because we felt like there was, at that time, we were really trying to find our identity with the first two albums, I guess. And with this last one, I think we're figuring out again our identity more and more so, because I think if you listen to the first and the last, we couldn't be further apart from each other almost. But that's what I love. I think it's nice that it's possible and that people are still growing with us and accompanying us on our journey to find new stuff that we find is inspiring. And I'm really happy to see that so many people traveled throughout the years with us. Of course, there are also people that left that didn't understand the changes we made. But for me, it's essential to keep on going to do new things.